All right, for today's lesson, you will need your reader's notebook, a pencil, and you will need to have Clever open. Today is Tuesday, September 1st, 2020. Okay, today's objective is after the lesson, we will know that authors use dialogue to make their stories more interesting. We will understand that dialogue is when characters talk to each other, and we will be able to add dialogue to our personal narratives about food. Today is the last day we're going to put something in our personal narrative, so we're going to kind of finish it off today. So this is the story we are going to read. I need you to pause the video while you copy those words in your journal. Okay, now that they are copied in your journal, let's review them. Plunge is to jump or dive. It's like when you plunge into a pool. Stride or striding is walking with long steps. My mom would call this power walking because you get places faster. Number 3 is chuckled. It means you laughed quietly. So a lot of times when something happens like in class but you don't want your teacher to know, you'll chuckle because you don't want to laugh too loud. Otherwise, they're going to know something's up. And number 4 is lugged, which is when you carry something very heavy. Now, I told you to put these in your notebook because I would love it if we started using this in our writing, because these are a lot more interesting than saying, oh, I jumped in the pool. I plunged into the pool. It's a much stronger word. The other vocabulary that you'll need to know in this story, but you do not need to copy into your journal, are pores, which are small openings. So if you look in the mirror and you look really close to your face, you'll see tiny, tiny holes. Those are your pores. And when you get a little older and you start getting pimples and whatnot, it means your pores are kind of clogged up. So that's what that means. Scored means to cut a line on the surface, so like you scratch it. Forget-me-nots, that's a picture right there of forget-me-nots. They're just little blue flowers. And a plow means to break up earth before. It's supposed to say planting, not planing. So I'll fix that on the Nearpod, but it's supposed to say planting. Okay, let's go on. All right, you are going to find this story on in Amplify. So if you go to your Clever, click on Amplify. And if it load a little faster, it'd be great. You click on the robots. Most of you are very good at this already. Library, personal narratives. We're going to have to scroll to find it. Girl from Yam Hill, the farm. And I want you to pause the video while you either read or listen to this story. So after you're done listening, there's a few things you're going to do. So you're going to answer you're going to answer these Padlets. So you need to answer in the comments. You are not adding one down here. You're not doing that. You're going to answer in the comments. And I gave you a sentence stem. So how would you describe the narrator? What character traits? How would you describe the mother? What character traits? How would you describe the father? So we went over character traits, not last week, but the week before. They're how we describe people. Nice, friendly, caring, respectful, rude, Those are character traits. Then you're going to do a cause and effect. So the effect was the narrator wanted to walk around the world. You need to figure out why. So the best way to do this is if you tap the T's, it'll give you a text box. Just pick whatever color you want to type in. And then just drag the text box over there, over the white, so you can see where it's typing. So dialogue. You're going to pause the video while you watch the vocabulary that comes next. All right, so these are the different parts of dialogue. So you have the quote, and I need you to copy all of this in your journal. So you've got the quote, the tag, the quotation marks, and then punctuation is very special when we're talking about dialogue. So if you want to see how it looks in my journal, you just got to click on the journal, and that's what it looks like. Anytime you see a little notebook like that, click on it because that's mine. Okay, now that you have copied that in your journal, let's move on. So dialogue has a few simple rules. You are not going to copy these down because they're going to take up too much space, but you will need to know these, and they will be in Schoology from now on, and I'll show you where. So the first rule is that quotation marks are placed before the first word of the dialogue and after the punctuation that ends the dialogue. So the example is, the quotation marks are in purple. How is it going? Miss Gower asked. So it's after, if you notice this, the last quotation mark is after the punctuation. Now that could, if it wasn't a question, it could have been a comma, and it would still be after, the quotation marks would still be after the comma. Rule number 2, when the tag follows the quote, the tag ends in a period. When it's before the quote, it ends in a comma. So we're looking at the tag now. It's going well, comma, I told Miss Gower, period. It ended in a period because it was after the quotation. I told Miss Gower, comma, it's going well. And your tag ended in a comma because it was before the quotation. Rule number 3, the punctuation that ends a line of dialogue is written inside the quotation marks. Just where do you think you're going? Dad demanded. Dad demanded, just where do you think you're going? So the end of the quote, the end of the quote is always inside the quotation marks. When the tag follows the quote ends in either a comma, a question mark, or an exclamation mark. So you're never going to see a period and then a tag. So let's look at the examples. It is, I said, period. It is, I yelled. It is, I asked. And the rule number 5 is dialogue between 2 or more speakers. Each new speaker starts a new paragraph. So we're going to get more into that a little bit later. So I want you to pause the video, and I want you to take a look at the rules of dialogue. There's a lot of different examples here, and I think this is really going to help you when you have to write your own. So there's a lot. And look at all the different tags you can use. So pause the video while you kind of look through that and keep that open for when you're writing yours. Now let's do some practice. In Draw It, I want you to put all of the punctuation marks. Pause until you're done. The next slide has the correct answer. Next question. Pause until you're done. Next slide has your answer. For that one, there was 2 possible answers. So you could have ended in a period or it could have ended in an exclamation mark. And there's your answers. Okay, so for what you're going to do for writing today is this is the last thing you're going to add to your food story. I want you to pick 2 different places where there's going to be dialogue in your story. So if you'll take a look at mine, I put arrows where I'm going to write it. So I put, my quotation is snails, I exclaimed. That sounds absolutely disgusting, I said to my mom, because my mom's trying to convince me to order snails. And the next quotation is, come on, they actually are very good, I said, trying to convince my cousin to try one. They just taste like butter and garlic and maybe something funky. And notice the arrows that I put telling me where they go. And that's just going to kind of help you plan. When you're done with that, and here's some possible examples. So if you are sitting down to a family dinner, it could be you and your brother or sister talking. It could be if you're at a restaurant, the waiter or waitress saying, you know, hi, may I take your order? Can I get you anything else? Things like that. Or it could be you commenting on the food. Ooh, wow, Mom, that smells great. Or, ooh, man, this pizza tastes so good. The crust is so crunchy, or whatever. It could be just you talking, and that's okay. Now, if you'll notice in my example, my quotes are a little long. You do not need to have long quotes. I'm not looking for size. I'm looking for, can you use punctuation correctly? So I just need at least 2 examples. If you want to do 6 examples, you can. But I want at least 2, and they do not need to be long at all. It could be 1 word. When you're done with that, today's assignments will be your personal narrative. You're going to write it all out. You have a vocabulary, a quiz on Schoology, and you also need to read for 15 minutes on my own. All of those things are for grades.